Coffee talk.
So for me, I have been on this spiritual awakening, remembrance, empowerment journey for several years. And as we all know, we have seen the majority of the individuals within these containers and communities have been mostly our sisters of the feminine. And because of their empowerment, their rise, their remembrance, their liberation, their freedom, that's a huge part, and they have been spearheading this awakening process for a while. And I have personally witnessed, and this is part of the invitation, and I would love to get your perspective on this, is I have witnessed within the past few months, mainly in 2025, a huge, I don't want to say resurgence, but a surge and next level of the divine feminine, or at least the feminine's energy, freedom, empowerment. There's just this noticeable difference and shift. And from my perspective, it seems like the feminine has been doing a lot of maybe more masculine ways of their empowerment, of their process. And now they seem to have reached a point where they're shifting gears. And it's more of an honoring way of their own energy that's far more conducive to how I feel, for lack of a better term, how the feminine needs to be. That's way more honoring to her. I feel that she has been building her queendom and is now, in many ways, taking her throne. Not like she's done, but she's shifting to a more process rather than a goal-based way of being. And I'm very, very generalizing. Like I'm seeing a lot of my sisters on their platforms, like on Instagram, on YouTube, and even in person, I'm seeing what they're doing. And it's really being ignited to a whole new sovereign and empowered level that I haven't seen before. And they're really, really doing an amazing job. What I feel is it's also simultaneously providing space for our brothers to step into their power of consciousness and rise as well, not necessarily like rise, but like awake with the feminine. And so the stage is now open for them. So you, Christina Marie, to me hold this amazing, beautiful, feminine priestess oracular energy. And when I was thinking about this, I was like, I'm gonna hit you up. I want to hear what you have to say, especially as a projector yourself, and I want to get your perspective because I know you also work with a lot of our sisters as well.
Mm, yeah. Okay. Thanks so much for that context. Yeah, I've really been tracking this process through my own experience, both like the inner alchemy of birthing the union template within, and then also seeing it holographically with the external reflection of that as well. And so, from my perspective and my direct experience, what I've really been feeling is that there's been a lot of feminine reclamation through embracing the descent process, through actually embracing the the intelligence of descending into our pain, our wounds, the places within us that feel broken, tender, whether that's, through our initiations, whether that's just through, what's arising in our lives, but moving from this place of like external validation and safety through the world and through the external into remembering how to feel and how to descend and reclaim our innocence and our power, how to retrieve the most fallen, broken, wounded parts of ourselves from the underworld, embody our wholeness and our power, and feel that internal sense of love and safety and wholeness within self, which breaks down many dynamics of codependence, of outsourcing power, of shrinking, of hiding, of contorting. There are so many different dynamics that create distortion and that create like a disempowered, you know, blueprint. There's so much that's been unwoven from, I feel like, for many feminine beings through actually embracing the process of descending into the depths, descending into the dark, and also embracing the divinity of the void space and of the no thing, of the emptiness, of liminal space. So rather than trying to, or maybe, you know, trying to, but there's an intelligence that's happening where these things are becoming unavailable anymore for those who really want to embody their full sovereignty and their truth, is that moving from, yeah, like striving, grasping, trying to make life happen, trying to get all of my needs met through these external pathways, and really being willing to feel deeply, to feel everything that's needing to be felt and processed to actually heal deeper places of separation, fracturing, wounding, to restore that inner well of wholeness and medicine, and to sit in the liminal space and the void where reality is actually kind of restructuring itself for a rebirth into greater wholeness and from that inner place of love. So what I see in like the inner alchemy blueprint is that as the feminine descends into her body, descends into the womb, descends into the underworld and into kind of the void spaces, and reclaims her power and remembers who she is and reclaims her ability to love and bring compassion and integration to all these parts of herself. There's a natural process where her boundaries shift,
Mhm.
her own self-worth shifts. So, like, from this inner place of knowing who she is, remembering her preciousness, remembering her worth, remembering who she is to God, the precious daughter and beloved that she is. So precious and beautiful and sacred in her essence. From this place of remembrance of the love that is her nature, her boundaries start to naturally shift, her standards change. What she needs in relationships starts to shift to reflect more of what she knows that she requires for her to feel met and in reciprocity in relationship. So I see that as the masculine, the king that rises. So first, the feminine kind of goes into this descent and reclaims the purity of her essence. And from that, her inner king rises and becomes this protector of the field and starts to re-architect her own field. And then that really reflects in her reality through every aspect of her life, from her dharma to her relationships to how she shows up for herself and her own, yeah, her own integrity. And so there's just this huge alchemical transformation that I believe has really, from what I've seen and what I've been experiencing, that emerges when a woman, yeah, remembers how to love and embrace and reclaim all parts of herself, to bring love to all of her wounds, to let God, to let love in, to reclaim this inner wholeness. And yeah, through that restructuring, she just is becoming this living temple of inner union. And so I feel like as the feminine has really surrendered and opened to this process of deep internal restoration of wholeness and worth and preciousness of her being, the masculine externally also is activated by that, right? And I would be
Mhm.
curious of your perspective too, because when a woman's really embodying her majesty and her ability to unconditionally love herself, to bring the Christed light of her heart into the depths of her being and reclaim all of who she is, and is willing to see and love all parts of herself and knows how sacred she is. When a woman's embodying in that, in embodying like this deep yin preciousness of her essence, men kind of can remember what they're in service to. They're
Mhm.
what a woman embodying her sacredness is, this living transmission of the sacred and the masculine in this alchemical blueprint, awakens and remembers what he's devoted to protecting the sacred, to protecting Mother Earth, to being in service to this beauty and this love. And so something can happen in the masculine too, where he remembers and awakens this devotion through the feminine, really embodying this inner template. So that's what I've been feeling within myself. That's a deep remembrance that I have from just these primordial kind of blueprints. And I see it a lot with the masculine externally as well, of them remembering and kind of like this deep reverence and this catalyzation for them to really step into, yeah, sacred masculine protectorship, providership, guardianship of what is sacred and true and holy in this life. And I really feel like your reflection of that when we met was for me a confirmation of this energy, because you really just showed up in my field with so much reverence and guardianship and chivalry and honor. And I have felt that from you, since day one. And so you are really an external reflection of, as I'm embodying my, my queendom, there's masculine beings showing up in my field who are in deep reverence and honor of the feminine. And it feels absolutely exquisite and divine to be in that dance. So yeah, I think that's what I feel called to share as a transmission in this moment. And I'd love to hear any reflections.
That was unbelievably perfect. Answered you answered so many of like not even things I wanted to talk about, and I'll try to like highlight them, even though you kind of already answered them, but even questions that I had within my own consciousness about what was going on that I didn't have planned to answer. Like you really tapped in and like you answered everything you said was 100% accurate that I have seen in the collective with, I mean, witness within myself, with other of our brothers and sisters. It was 1000% on. Like you were saying, the descent. I was like, ooh, good explanation. And even like ancient mystery schools, like I'm learning about the Essenes right now and how in the women side of the Essenes, they would honor the descent as part of being a feminine, as part of being a woman. And just Persephone, goddess Persephone's story is such a powerful story and is a strong narrative that I feel a lot of women are embodying in their own way. Yeah, so everything you were saying, it was just like, wow. So I answered your question about a woman and her power and everything. It is the most attractive thing in the universe. It is really like that lighthouse that when certain things are unsure or it really is a lighthouse and a baseline for a mission, or just like they're like the guiding star more of. And I know for me that when a woman is in her power, and I saw this, and I've seen this more recently. Like I love what you were saying about the descent because it's like there's a lot of Phoenix energy too. It's like a star collapsing in on itself, but then to like bounce back and expand into this beautiful supernova. And I feel like that's what a lot of the feminine is doing, is going back in. And like I love you even said remembrance, like remembering, like putting things together instead of this fragmented individuals that we are, masculine and feminine. We are remembering. It's like Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas. She's like sewing herself together. It's like, I mean, the things that serve, of course, and discarding the things that don't. But it's remembrance of many parts of herself. So for me, when I have witnessed this new level of the feminine's embodiment, it is so amazingly attractive and powerful and scary. I will
Mm.
say at the same time, there is the little boy in me that's kind of triggered, or there's something that's like there's not right about it, or there's like, is that the way she should be doing or whatever? At the same time, the man in me is like, wait, this is so super beautiful. And this is
Mm.
like super like to be honored and to be revered. So I feel the beauty of a woman in her power does trigger and purify all immaturities in the masculine. And that's a
Oh,
good thing. And I am thankful for that gift.
wow. Thank you for receiving that.
Yeah.
Goes both ways, right? But to be able to be rebirthed through the transmission of feminine power and sovereignty, and to allow that to move through you and rebirth yourself into even more of your own masculine power. That is a skill set. That is a devotional skill set to receive it as a holy gift, as a holy offering. And I think that's a big piece of exactly the masculine being able to receive that medicine and moving from the kind of the wounded templates of
Mhm.
wanting to control that, suppress that, make that wrong, demonize it because it's so threatening. It's so threatening to the smaller self, these wounded aspects of self, the immature aspects of self, and actually like being able to say, actually, there's medicine and truth. And I'm willing to go through a death and rebirth and knowing that it's going to purify and upgrade my own template and to be in holy reverence and gratitude to that. And then there's like that alchemy process where then as the masculine rises, the feminine gets to receive the next level of honor and devotion and provision and reverence for her being, and then her light like, and so it's just her light grows, she expands in her radiance, and then
Mhm.
it feeds the masculine, and the masculine's just like, wow, when the feminine's in her full power, we all benefit like
Yeah.
more of that. And so there's like that upward spiral that can kind of activate when the alchemy is fully open to, and there's like the skill sets to be able to journey with that medicine.
And what a beautiful technology
Yes, yes,
we
exactly.
have as the masculine and feminine together. And
Mhm.
the parts that when they're in their fullest essence and in their fullest divinity, when they come together, I mean inwardly as well, not just externally, not just like a man or a woman, but like the masculine feminine essence in everyone and the masculine feminine essence of in like within the universe, when those work together in that dance of two, in that harmony, it's so beautiful. And it's like when instruments are clashing together, making all sorts of noise to a beautiful orchestrated symphony. And it's
Yes.
that beautiful hum and
Yes. Yeah, it leads to an upward spiral of coherence and
Mhm.
unity and expansion. And again, it works the other way too. Like there's experiences I have where the masculine might bring his sword, his clarity, his
Mhm.
sight into my field and kind of open up some places in myself that I hadn't been seeing and open me up to, see and rebirth parts of my own self or my own shadow. And so it goes both ways. It's not just that the feminine is holding this medicine, it's that there is a beautiful dance of
Mhm.
we're here to support each other to alchemize into our own internal wholeness. And when we're each embodying our wholeness, that relational field becomes, wow, such a temple of evolution and expansion and medicine and dharma. So it's not just, yeah, one or the other. There's ways that this technology is, alchemical in many directions.
Absolutely. I want to put a pin in that because I have a question. that's going to probably take us on another branch.
Cool.
But before we do that, I want to revisit some things before we continue on. Is with the tr like the little boy that gets triggered and
Mhm.
how important that is. I'll just make more I statements. In previous versions of myself, this stuff would have triggered me, and then I would have seen it as something as like a threat, or I mean, or something that's like it itself is not great or could be better or something like that. There's still an aspect of that that's like there at first, and then I'm like, wait, wait, wait. And it does take a maturity. It does take a maturity to like actually go, wait, that's not it. That's not it. This is the beauty. And there's like a process of going through that. And I'll give like an example, like I was somewhere out and I got a notification on my phone about one of my amazing, beautiful sisters who has an amazing YouTube channel who channels great stuff all the time. She made a post about something I saw it, and at first I was like, I didn't necessarily agree at first with the message, and there was something that was like triggering me, but then that's where that was. I was like, oh, fuck. The fact that I was triggered at first, I was like, I know something's here. I know this is like not the truth. And there's something within me. So after going through the process of like sitting with it and everything, I was like, okay, that's a beautiful message. Because I was like seeing it through a very specific lens, right? It's like you see things through a distorted or a colored lens that you're still seeing the thing, but it's like it paints it a different color. And so I was seeing that and I was like, okay, all right. And I see the beauty of that. And I love
Mhm.
what you were saying about union, about like the inner union. And I feel that's a huge thing that I've seen the feminine doing is their sovereign union and not dependent, like transcending or healing the codependence of external thing. Of course, like there's an interdependence that is beautiful and part of it, yet the distorted dependence that takes away her power, her freedom, her sovereignty. I see a shift of that she's kind of going, she's gone inward. Like even another very amazing, beautiful, dear friend of mine who she has offered this Magdalene course and how like within the past several months and the themes within it are so perfect for the feminine. Like and it is about like transcending or getting rid of like distorted like union ideals and everything and coming back to and like what is the serving union within you for the women
Yeah.
and it's so beautiful. And I've talked to some of my sisters who have done the course. It's Lana Healer, Medicine Woman, Magdalene Temple. I'll link it below just if anyone's interested because I gotta give credit for her. But talking because I'm almost doing kind of a testimonial for it, even though I didn't do it. But talking to my sisters who have done it, that like what they got from it, they said it was amazing. And it really like they deserve this, like my sisters really deserve this kind of freedom and liberation and empowerment for the self, right?
Yeah, so it's interesting because there's this beautiful like coexistence of moving from even like hyper independence of like I can just do it all myself and I'm just independent and into this beautiful sovereignty of like I am whole in my own being and I also desire partnership and
Hmm.
union in the physical. But because of what I've embodied and the way that my own inner union template has been refined, my like standards for relationships are just very specific because of how I show up for myself,
Hmm.
because of my relationship with God, because my inner union template is like I'm continuing to embody more of like the inner king within my own field. So I yearn for, partnership and to be in relationship and to not do life all on my own. And I'm unwilling to settle for a relationship that is not in alignment with how I'm showing up for myself because I have embodied such a sense of inner peace, inner self-worth, how to take care of myself, how to honor myself. Like I feel this sense of this inner well of my own peace and well-being. And so I will only allow in relationships that, support that support my evolution, that support my growth. And not to say the relationship has to be completely peaceful, but it has to be evolutionarily. It has to
Hmm.
hold a template that's going to expand me and activate me and uplift me into a continual evolution of my own blueprint, not something that's draining my energy or that and like this is again, it's an unraveling from many of the feminine wounds of being the caretaker, being a rescuer, being like, oh, well, I can help him rise, right? Like I can help him, or I can, I can be the healer, or it's moving from those codependent dynamics into like, wow, I'm really sovereign in my field. I've created a life that I love. I've created an authentic life. So anyone who's, going to be in my life needs to add to that and bring a sense of evolution and expansion and help be a part of my path of continuing to amplify and add more beauty and more, yeah, more expansion in dharma and in every way. And so like through this internal alchemy, it's like through this inner wholeness, it's moving from relationship to fill inner voids or to feel like I need to be saved from my life, which, I am very humble in this as well because I've journeyed through deep heartbreak and grief and pain to unravel these dynamics that are inherited, that are from conditioning, that are part of the human evolutionary journey, right? Like there's so many reasons why women and the feminine have been experiencing these patterns. We're in a totally different time where there's a whole new octave of, this potential that's opening up for these like temple union relationships, right?
Mhm.
And so just being able to feel the blessing and the gift of like, wow, I'm not having to be in a partnership for my survival. I'm not having to be in a partnership, because my life depends on having a man support me. Like I have created a life where I'm in my own internal fulfillment. And so it feels like such a gift and such a blessing and something that I don't take for granted that in this lifetime, there is all of this energy and consciousness that is supporting the anchoring of relationships that are based in evolution, that are based in soul level evolution and dharmic fulfillment. And so I just want to share, like, I feel like it's such a privilege to like be incarnated at this time on Gaia, where these blueprints have been seeded. These blueprints have been laid down, and we are getting to experience something just so profound in this dance of the inner masculine, the inner feminine, and then the way that's anchoring in unions and in relationships. And for me, I experienced divine union and friendship as well, like
Mhm.
from this internal template of this union and this temple that I hold within myself. My friendships are this way, my brotherhoods, my sisterhoods, like they're all reflecting this evolutionary template of through this relationship, we're continually supporting each other to rebirth into more of who we are and expand who we are in a very progressive way. And it's a very profound experience of relationship that I feel like is, becoming more and more available at this time. So it like obviously brings me to tears because I feel like my soul just like came here to experience the evolution of, consciousness and the remembrance of full spectrum human and holy through the temple of relationship.
Poetry. Just
Is like obviously so, yes, from such a deep place of, yeah, integration of many years of journeying with these mysteries. So thank you for creating the space for this to come through and to witness me in this moment.
absolutely everything you said was just spot on. Like that, like people talk about like union and all that. That's the clip. Like that's the information. And I mean, I even started to tear up myself when when you were doing that because that is what a beautiful, what a beautiful gift this is that we're remembering again. What I will say, I want to go back to like talking about union and more of the romantic partnering union is from my end as a masculine, when the feminine demands more, as you all should. I like everything you were talking about of that powerful union within self and still desiring like external partnership and having all I wish that on every single one of our brothers and sisters. I truly do. Like that would be my wish for humanity is to everyone to experience in their own way, of course, to experience the beauty and perfect of that for however that is for all of us. As a masculine, when the feminine raises her standards, it then forces us to become more of that standard. And I think that's a really good thing. And I see that right now in like through men's work and a lot of our brothers is that the feminine really is like saying, no, fuck that. I'll be alone. I'll, you know, for the moment I'll be alone if it honors me. And it is really forcing the hand. Of course, we all have free will in this choice, but if the masculine does desire to keep up, he's got kind of one option. And I see that it's forcing the hand of this evolution of consciousness in a way. Maybe those are harsher words, but I see the beauty of that. The masculine does want to rise and be that. I'll speak for myself is that especially within these past several months within 2025, like I was saying, seeing this new level of of my sisters of what they are embodying and requiring has forced me. Like I'm just like I'll see what they're talking about, then I'll be in their energy and I'm like, shit, all right, I want to because I want to be that. I want to be the best that I could be for them as well.
Mm,
So I'm literally like like tracking it and it's really forcing me to like bust through faster layers than I ever have in my own consciousness as a man. And like again, it was like it's like very quick things where it's like little boy, oh no no no, and then the man comes in and you know the warrior, the king, the lover, the magician, really like going through the gauntlet of those to keep up. And it's not like I'm idolizing the feminine. I'm not like putting her on a pedestal. It is a North Star though. It is a North compass. It is a direction that does initiate my evolution, and I want to, and I see this. And I'm not. It's. I mean, previously in spiritual awakening, it was like the like carrot dangling. I'm just like chasing it, and it's always out of reach. And then before I look back, I awakened, went down the rabbit holes, did all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, and then, like carrying crystals, and I'm like, well, I'm here, and there's no going back. Now I see it. I'm like, all right, I want that. I want to show up for the feminine. I want to be the king. I want to be that king for her queendom. I want to match her energy and I want her to match my energy. I want that beautiful union. And so that requires me to do the work. Because, like, I mean, at the beginning of this year, I've already awakened and done a lot of work. I could have just been like, I'm good. But then to continue to like make it like a daily thing, to really just like it's never good enough. I mean, not in a way where that's shameful, but I do feel the masculine is sharpened. The masculine really needs that sharpening, really needs that edge, that constant though, that constant toughening in a way. And you can even see like the feminine really expands in like abundance and being and saturation. Like it's like she is empowered with like fermentation and like just in her juicy being. Whereas in the masculine, it's sharpened like a sword. And you can even see it in like the suits of the tarot. Like typically like two of them are masculine, two of them are feminine. Like the cups and the pentacles are more feminine, and the wands and the swords are more masculine. And you can see like 10 of cups that's an abundance of greatness versus like 10 of swords it's like kind of not as good, so more of the lower numbers of the masculine suits are more of like the initiation and more of like what's good for the masculine, where like the higher numbers of the feminine suits are more of like the abundance and like richness that the feminine of the feminine energy. Yeah.
yeah, I would love to speak on that that dance of like the masculine and that motivation and the feminine and like that role. And
Please.
I'll speak through like kind of the mythopoetic, like it's a mythic template of the Grail. You know, this is something, the Holy Grail is these Grail lineages. There's
Hmm.
many traditions that we could say are part of the Grail lineages or part of like this original template. And it's something that it's not like I've necessarily read a bunch of books on. It's something that's emerged from deep gnosis and has been confirmed, you know, by the oracles and the priestesses that I'm surrounded by as we journey with the actual like repiecing together of these original union blueprints. And it's how I see that is like as the feminine, our well, our energy, our fertility, our internal wellspring of chi and abundance is precious. It's valuable. It is the life force of, you know, our societies and of the earth is just this deep well of feminine essence, which, you know, I feel like our fields as the feminine are deeply fertilized through our ability to feel, through
Hmm.
our ability to allow the fullness of our emotions to move through our bodies, to remember how to alchemize and let life continue to move. And, you know, there's a lot that goes into this feminine wellspring. But ultimately, what I want to share is like that there's like this well that's in the womb, it's in the heart. There's this precious life
Hmm.
force in chi that, you know, when we look at the myths of the Grail, what did the masculine do? Quested to find and experience the Holy Grail. So the masculine is on this quest, you know, the feminine, and this is just very archetypal, very mythic, but the feminine is her role in that is her aliveness, her vitality, her internal sovereignty that's protecting the preciousness of her well, remembering that she is the Holy Grail, that she is the prize, that she is precious, and access to her and her energy is, you know, is something that someone has to kind of like quest to fully, you know, drink from and access. She is holding this fountain of vitality and chi. And so, and I really see this as a big part of the priestess archetype as well. The priestess is holding for her community this internal wellspring of divine essence and divine feminine medicine. And so, and the masculine is on this quest, which requires initiation, which requires trials, which requires a sharpening of the sword and a hero's journey to discover and commune with this Holy Grail. And so I really feel the sense of like, yeah, as a woman remembers the preciousness of her energy and her life force and really guards that as precious. You know, there's also the inner union of like, I have a sword and I have a king in my field. That's protecting that. That's my boundaries. That's my standards. That's my yes and my no's. I'm because I've remembered how precious my energy is, especially as a projector. I feel like this is like for me too, like, but for like, you know, the feminine in general, like my energy is so precious. So my life is kind of built in the architecture of knowing my energy is precious, and that's how I navigate life. And it's, yeah, this deep devotion to feeling and to alchemizing and to allowing my life force to be alive and flowing and vital. And that's really what my devotion is as a vessel for, you know, deep feminine medicine. And the priest is also holding this template of one who holds gateways of initiation, like one whose sovereignty and whose embodiment of this catalyzes and supports processes of initiation into higher consciousness. And so
Hmm.
through that embodiment, the masculine is given opportunities to rise into his embodiment of devotion to divine will, to truth, to protecting what is sacred, what is precious. And so through this kind of mythological blueprint, it can kind of just for me, it's kind of just given this illustrated of like, what are we doing here? Like, what is these energetics that are going on? And seeing how divine it is that men are going on this quest to refine themselves, to experience, higher consciousness and to come into their sovereignty and their devotion to divine will as being very exquisite gateways that support and embody both his own evolution and then that support all of life and that keep life in this balance and this harmony. And so, yeah, when you were saying about sharpening the sword and like that you are embracing the process of your initiations, inspired by the incredibly powerful women and priestesses in your life, it's like I see that as being so intelligent, so gorgeous. And for me, I have such a mythic soul. I'm like, wow, we're living these archetypal myths and getting to like experience this mythology like playing out in our modern everyday lives?
Absolutely. I love that. We are really living that out.
Yeah.
What I will also say is I want to just reflect this for our brothers is that just how the feminine isn't seeking love outside of herself.
Mhm.
We neither is the masculine when he goes on that mission. He's not going on a mission. He's not going on this grail search, this quest for to get love. I think just as the feminine is embracing their inner king, the masculine is and will need to embrace his inner queen. And so
Mhm.
he's not going on this quest to find love like a lot of our stories have told us. What it is he's on a quest for his mission to then share his love.
Yeah, and also his inner feminine is also his own well, right? Like all
Hmm.
of this is like there's an outer blueprint and then there's an inner blueprint. And like that Grail quest, it's something I've been on with myself, my inner queen and my inner king discovering this dance of devotion with each other, ultimately God in the center of that, that's the dance of like we're in service to divine will through this dance. But yeah, I feel like you will have so much more to share as a man in this incarnation of maybe that version of the quest for, the masculine of discovering and embodying your own, inner feminine as well and reclaiming your sensitivity and your compassion and your empathy and these qualities that like are absolutely essential to be in service to love and to truth and to meet the feminine in her divinity and to feel her and to be sensitive to her preciousness and her needs and her desires and just to we're both on that inner quest that allows us to meet each other and again in this place of wholeness. And when that's happening, it's not again there's these templates that fall away of like I have to be in the feminine and he has to be in the masculine.
Hmm.
There becomes this organic weaving where our fields are naturally balancing and harmonizing with each other and revealing deep truth through our own internal polarities interacting with each other.
Absolutely. You were talking about how we are living these mythological stories out and how the masculine with his grail quest is very much the hero's journey. Do you feel the hero's journey applies to the feminine still, or does she is she going to write her own kind of narrative? I was talking about this in another podcast about how there's the hero's journey, which is essentially like the fool's journey, and then how as we evolve, we're going to have new stories. Like there's the idea of the magician's journey, perhaps, and how that goes backwards. Do you think there is a new, and I want to present this for all the feminines or everyone watching, and this doesn't have to be answered right now. I think this is a really great provocative question is do you feel the feminine is going to have her own story that's similar or even different than the hero's journey?
100%. And I'm so glad you asked. 'Cause earlier I was like, oh, the hero's journey. And then there was a part of me that's like, and there's the heroine's journey, which I have 100% been on and has led me down my own, yeah, mystical, mythical path of death and rebirth, many times in my own living myth. And I really feel like for my own like soul blueprint, I've also seen it as this architecture of this Christ Sophia, where there is an awakening of this like eternal heart. And there's also these processes of diving and descending into the darkest and most separate, rejected parts of ourselves. And there's just this weaving of the opening of the heart and the descent into the womb. And there is like such an intelligent, story within that framework. But I'll just share for me, really like a big part of my heroine's journey where I feel like I was pretty much completely thrust into exactly what I was sharing of like the descent into kind of the unconscious, into the underworld, into my deepest wounds, into my deepest separation and fractures. It came through the catalyzation of a breakup. And I've had several of these experiences. I feel like a lot of my deepest medicine has been birthed from experiences of heartbreak and experiences of deep grief that have confronted me with, my own fracture points, my own deepest wounds of rejection, of abandonment, of betrayal. Like these deep core soul wounds are where I have journeyed within myself to reclaim my power, my innocence, to embrace and love and bring home and integrate all those parts that were living in exile and separation. And for me too, like this path I walk, it's very much not just connected to like what's happening in this life, but there is like this greater archetypal and I would say karmic reclamation of these wounds across like many lifetimes, many incarnations, many timelines to restore like worth and wholeness in this incarnation. And so I would say, like, for me, my heroine's journey, there's been many spirals of it and many chapters, but I would say, like, the place of this deep well of the most anchored inner wholeness that I've ever experienced up until now is the kind of the integration of the past couple years of really deep soul retrievals through not being in partnership, through discovering my sovereignty and my wholeness as a single woman and really just just healing deep wounding of my heart and deep kind of like fears even of that of just really confronting some of my greatest fears, my greatest like worst case scenario kind of things, like really descending into heartbreak, into pain, into grief, and resurrecting and rebirthing myself through the power to love and integrate the most hurt, wounded,
Mhm.
fractured, separate soul aspects that were trapped, in these places of deep pain. And to rebirth, again, through the process of Sophia, of descending into this human experience, of the light of my heart getting so strong that it was able to shine into these deep places of pain and wounding and bring these parts home and continue to like yeah, like it's soul retrieval of bringing these parts home. So the path of feeling this deep worth and wholeness and preciousness of my being, it didn't come from a mental concept. It didn't come through taking a course that taught me how to do it. It came from feeling the depths of my own pain and my own experience of separation from God, from love, from the love that I am to actually like somatically and spiritually and soulfully rebirth into somatic experience of this. And there will be cycles with the feminine, heroine's path. And I believe for everyone's path, there's cycles and spirals of initiation that we may be asked to walk, especially if we're on the priestess path or a medicine path or a path of divine union. Like there will be cycles and spirals that kind of confront us with the places we don't feel whole, the places we feel separate, the places we are kind of stuck or trapped in dynamics that aren't rooted in the sovereignty of our essence. And so for me, the heroine's journey was like this sense of knowing that that experience catalyzed, a when that happened, I was like, okay, I'm on a journey now. I don't know how it's going to go. I'm being thrust into the mystery of what this process is going to be.
Mm.
But it was just trusting the intelligence of life that wants me to be in my wholeness and in my essence and in my radiance, and that that process was in service to restoration, that that process was in service to the restoration of inner union. It wasn't a punishment. It wasn't this like, oh my God, like my life is awful now. Like it felt like that sometimes because there was so much pain to confront. But ultimately, being able to see it from this evolutionary perspective in this heroine's journey of this is my journey to restore an inner world that feels like love, where I'm not seeking love, I'm not searching for love, I'm not trying to get love. I remembered myself as love. And that is a gift that could never be taken away from me.
Mm.
Going through that journey, going through the heroine's journey or the hero's journey, it creates something unshakable
Yeah.
within, our inner being, that it's like once you've reclaimed that and you've restored this inner template, like there's a level of safety and love within that just feels like the greatest gift. And it's like, wow, I feel like it was 100% all worth it, no matter how hard it was, how difficult it was for this. Wow, thank you, God. Thank you. This is the most precious gift, is to feel this way within myself. And so I do believe, we're all going to have a different myth and how this plays out based on what we're here to, embody and learn through and grow through. But for me, I've seen it and I see it in a lot of women where their initiations come in a way that kind of confronts them with their own fractures from knowing the love that they are, knowing the holy, precious daughter that they are, and coming back into this deep sense of like union with God from within. So I feel like I'm kind of a testament to walking through deep levels of pain and darkness and unknown and mystery and dissolving and rebirthing and just being like, wow, thank you for this gift that can never be taken away from me of
Mm.
feeling the truth of my own soul.
Well, thank you for walking through that. Thank you for being a template and a model for yourself and for all of our brothers and sisters for doing this, especially for our
Mm.
sisters.
It's not easy. It's not easy to feel the deepest places of wounding within self. So if anyone's out here listening and you're going through like a dark night of the soul, or you're going through a deep descent process where it just feels so chaotic, so messy, you're being confronted with so much pain, so much fear, just the message that, through embracing the unraveling, embracing the process of going into that pain and kind of feeling through it, feeling your way through the dark. Like the light will continue to illuminate as you allow yourself to fully
Mm.
feel. And I think that's a big part for the feminine as well, is moving from reliance on the mind. And I feel like it's for everyone. Maybe this is just a part of the greater integration and union path, but moving from I'm safe because I'm in control and I know what my life is and I have all these things, into finding safety in trusting the mystery and living moment to moment, and
Mm.
knowing that as I feel and I process what's present in my reality, the way is shown. And so for me, I do feel like there was also a release of safety, yeah, through external things and through like thinking I knew what my trajectory was. When my trajectory fell away and it was like I was confronted with this vast unknown, it was really this opportunity to anchor in a way of being that I live by now, where I don't feel like my safety comes from knowing the path and
Mm.
everything that's in the path. My safety comes from knowing that I have the ability to process and feel my way through life, and that always reveals the next step of the way, and trusting that deeply.
That's a major thing that I see in the feminine, and how that's a safety point. And
Yeah.
that trust in that's a perfect answer.
Ooh, yeah, wow. Glad that piece came through because that feels really significant of like it's a whole different way of being.
Hmm.
It's a whole different way of being, of like living in the body and living, trusting life, trusting the path and the mystery unfolding. For people who feel really called to live from their soul, that's not a path that has a 5-year plan attached to it. It is a deep surrender to divine intelligence, revealing the way through, yeah, a deep space of curiosity, trust, surrender. And it takes a lot of internal safety to be able to embrace and live that path, which is, for me, that safety was created through being thrust into it and feeling completely unsafe and having to feel all the ways that I was feeling extremely unsafe and process that. So it required feeling,
Hmm.
deep through it all.
I love all that. And I love what you were saying about the heroine's journey and how
Mm.
it's like this more secular process, which is more of that like Kairos time
Mm.
versus the masculine, which more is that Chronos time. Because I mean, we've read books, we've seen movies, we see the format for the hero's journey, which is like you meet the characters, there's a rising action, there's a climax, and then there's a resolution. That's a pretty, I mean, that's Chronos, that's pretty direct.
Yeah.
Whereas in what I am excited about, because I love humans' ability to tell stories, because that's such an amazing thing gift we have. And so this is also an invitation where I'm excited for our sister writers, authors, content creators to explore, even in the realms of fiction, the more Kairos heroine's journey. And because, I mean, we get it now. We've seen the hero's journey. We've seen that, like, we can watch a movie and we can, like, be like, I know how this is gonna go. It's gonna go up like this. It's gonna happen like that. But
Yeah, well, thank God there's a blueprint, right? So it's like, okay, we know how it's going to go. We know there's going to be like these archetypal things that happen. And that's a great guidepost, right? Like when we're going
Mhm.
through soul initiation, it's like there's a blueprint to this, there's a logic to this. It's not completely random. So
Yeah,
thank you. Thank God for that.
and what you were saying about like trusting and not knowing the path, I think, because like because we're programmed by the stories and content we
Hmm.
consume, like from all the books, all the stories, all the movies, all this stuff, and it works in that format. And so we expect to know the outcome. We expect to be able to see or plan the outcome. And like you were saying, is it's going to require a trust of not knowing what's coming next. So normalizing narratives or stories or whatever that does work on that heroine's Kairos time is going to kind of open people up and understand we don't have to know what's next and be able to surrender to the moment and the process that is here and now, perhaps.
Absolutely. And I'll just share one piece that I feel like has anchored me in living my life this way is that in my belief system, I believe the soul is wanting to evolve through
Hmm.
our experience and our story. So being able to hold the perspective that through, and also the process of initiation, of like our soul came here to move through thresholds to experience a greater sense of expansion and wisdom through what we're moving through. So being able to really just stay anchored of like, I'm going through a challenging experience. If I'm going through an initiation that's confronting me or stretching me or feels extremely uncomfortable or painful, just being able to hold this of like, my soul is evolving through this. And ultimately, like, my soul is wanting to gain wisdom through this experience. So I feel like more and more it's taken me out of like the victim energy of this is happening to me
Hmm.
into, okay, it's hard. My human is feeling all these things. It's confusing, it's chaotic, but I know that there's this higher perspective of there's evolution and there's growth and there's a higher, will moving through all of this. So that's a place of safety that allows me to surrender into the uncomfortable, messy parts of it because it's messy. Like, oh my gosh, to move through initiations where we're being confronted with our deepest pain and our patterns and our shadows and our wounds, like, oh my God, like the compassion for our human that's like feeling all of it. And also, so like having this deep compassion for the human experience and having this anchored of like, and like, I trust my soul is growing and expanding through this, and I'm going to glean so much from this. And it's possible that I'm going to look back, especially if I hold this as my
Mhm.
North Star, look back and be like, wow, I'm amazed of how much I grew and transformed through meeting that experience with this evolutionary kind of perspective on what's happening.
Absolutely. Another thing I want to go back and speak on is you were talking about how that within the heroine's journey, or I would even say the hero's journey, just the journey itself of our life and experiences, is it's not necessarily like the goal. Like you were saying, the safety and that you acquired through the journey is something that can never be taken away, and how like that is the treasure. Like we think the treasure is at the very end, but what is cultivated through the growth is so much more of what we need, or
Yeah.
any desire, and like, or what our soul desires. Because again, it's like going back to my analogy with the carrot dangling in front of you. Like our human is like, I want that, and then what really is through like through running through the gauntlet and chasing after the carrot is that what we do in between is like what our soul wants, well, what our soul needs. And working so much with like twin flames and divine union, and that was something that I came back to, is it was not necessarily like the goal wasn't like the partner as much. It wasn't like the partner to be in this like perfect relationship, but like the what that's definitely a part of it in a lot of this stuff. What we are made out of, what forges our soul, what frees us, what is made, what is created, what is expanded within us is the juicy treasure gift that's why we're doing it.
That is it. Thank you for bringing that in. I feel like that just resonated so much with these insights I've had around spiritual wealth. Like the gold that is a result of the journey and the process.
Hmm.
And I would say, like, when I think about the feminine and the masculine in this journey space, and in any, even like in a creative process, the feminine is more journey based, of experience based, of embodiment and cultivation through the journey, whereas the masculine is more of like, this is kind of more of where we're going and a trajectory and a point of reference of like, where are we trying to get to? Which, I mean, it could be very esoteric. It could be like the liberation of my soul. And
Yeah.
that's still the masculine, right? Holding a framework for like, what are we even doing here? And the feminine being more of like the growth and the evolution from embracing the process. It's
Mm.
not about a goal orientation, it's process based. So when we have both of those, it's super beautiful having a framework for like what's happening and also being able to fully embrace
Yeah.
that
And
richness. Yeah, the richness and the gold is from the journey, is in the journey itself. And like that, it's not all about the outcome. That's not the only thing we want. Like we get to maybe get somewhere and be like, actually, like the level of wealth and richness that I'm experiencing is because I just embrace the full spectrum of this process. And I think as we get to feel what that feels like in our body, like it sounds like you know what that feels like in your body to feel that wealth of evolution, like soul wealth. Our
mhm.
soul feels rich through our evolution as we experience that, like for me, I feel like it's just lit even more of a fire of devotion to my evolutionary process because I'm like, it's worth it every time. It's worth it every time to lean into what this is unlocking because it's the greatest gift to feel my soul growing and expanding in wisdom and mastery. That's what my soul came into this human body for. And so I think as that, it's kind of like a feedback loop where it's like, oh, this is it. This is what it's really all about. it becomes less about a destination or less about specific goals or outcomes. And there is this just like knowing that the journey is where so much juice
Hmm.
lives, and really trusting and embracing, like, and feeling how the soul like loves the experience of evolution, especially and even when it's highly uncomfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
A big part of the like spiritual journey, right? Evolutionary journey is just like embracing that you're probably going to feel uncomfortable a lot. Like that's like
Yeah.
one of the number one skill sets. It's like learning how to be uncomfortable and like to be with discomfort and to let it in, to not run away from discomfort, to not numb or distract, but actually be like, I'm uncomfortable. And for me, there's a lot of somatic alchemy of like, cool, what happens when I embrace this discomfort? There's usually gold there for me.
That's such a big is just being able to stay calm and find your peace within the storm. And I know
Mm.
like going to distractions is a big one, especially for like the masculine collective. That's a whole thing. With the heroes and the heroine's journey, I will even say so for mine, of the gold being the reward of what is cultivated through it. It's like let's even say like for my own journey, like the hero's journey of mine is like I desire a queen. Right? Like that's the goal. Like that's the end goal or something like that. That would be the initial reason why I set out when I was, a fool, like a queen. And so
Mhm.
from this story kind of mythological context, I start off as a peasant and then I needed to go through this process to become a knight, to become a ward, to become a king, because I wouldn't have been able to handle the thing at the end if the process, the whole story, the journey made me able to contain and hold and be compatible with said thing. Because from
Mhm.
like a peasant to a king in this analogy.
Absolutely. It's like the whole process is, yeah, like for me, I see it like in the nervous system sense, expanding our capacity to actually be with in a good way and have capacity for the fullness of what we desire. So yeah, everything along that path, like if you're really wanting a divine union partnership, the energy of divine union is a really big energy. It's huge. It requires a lot of capacity to alchemize, everything into truth and into coherence. It's a really profound field that needs to be cultivated to hold what that kind of relationship and that circuitry really is on like a nervous system level. So yeah, I love that reflection of like the whole journey is part of the preparation process to be able to have and to hold what it is that we truly desire. And it's like this divinely appointed process of like expansion, again, nervous system and somatic capacity for that, and also a training ground. Like a training ground that's
Mhm.
just showing so many subtleties and nuances of like how to actually be in relationship to yourself and to what you desire. I see it on a business level and I see it for me relationally. It's like
Mhm.
I say I want to have, more clients. I say I want to be holding more responsibility. I want to be running this, bigger mission. It's like, okay, cool. If a bunch of clients came in right now, do I even have the capacity to like hold all of that in a good way? And so just being able to see even the process of business and the process of relationship, it's all, there's similarities in that when it's mission and it's union templates, where it's like every chapter and every cycle is greatly in service to expanding the capacity to have and to hold and to circulate more and vaster bandwidths and frequencies of
Mhm.
like truth and love and divine energy, like through the temple of the body and like the temple of your reality. It's a really real thing because I've had my nervous system blown out through divine light. It's a thing. Like, and I had to rebuild my capacity to be able to hold and circulate that more. And that's been a part of the path. And so it's a very physiological and, yeah, practical process that's built into that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You're being made ready.
Yes, yes. And it's such a reverent, sacred process. And I think the way you shared it, just being able to see that of like, if you're here for really profound union, that process of preparation is so sacred. it is a deep ceremony and it will bring you to the deepest parts of yourself. It will transform you in the most profound ways. You will become a vessel for divine love and truth to flow through you. It's a great honor. So instead of being like, oh, I don't have what I want, and like, oh, it's so hard, being actually to see and hold that time and that process as a holy, sacred training ground and preparation for really like profound levels of relationship and connection and fulfillment on a soul level. And
Yeah.
I think that can make all the difference for someone who's on a journey like this, because it can be very challenging and very scary and very lonely and all these things that we're confronted with. But being able to hold it as sacred and yeah, feel God's love of like it's benevolent that you don't have what you want yet.
Mhm.
Like who you're becoming in the process is such a gift.
Let's go, baby.
Gold. What is gold? Yeah, thank you so much for your like reverence to this process. It's really touching my heart and really, yeah, helping me just feel and reflect like how incredibly profound this whole journey is, and to not take it for granted that the mystery school of life is
Hmm.
so alive and so intelligent and so full of love. And yeah, what a gift it is to be on this trajectory in this life. So thank you for your reverence. That's a code that I feel like you hold, ever since I met you. It's just been this reverence and it's rare and it's wow, just incredibly powerful to like receive the transmission of that from you and through you.
Thank you so much for that reflection. That means a lot.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hold the space and the energy very much.
Yeah, this has been incredible. I feel like we just went to like all the places I like kind of imagined we'd go, but yeah, just feeling like I feel like how ripe
Mm.
this
Oh yeah.
talk is for these times. Yeah. Yeah, it feels ripe. It feels fertile. It feels like more and more souls are just like really just like making sense of this process that we've been in. It's like we've kind of, I feel like there's been this sense of like we're kind of there's been this kind of like chaotic soup of like we're trying to figure out what's actually like happening. Like it's really profound, but we're all like so in it. And now I feel like there's this like kind of bird's eye of like, whoa, being
Mm.
able to look back over, especially the past few years and be like being able to track and give language to the blueprint of the journey.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I have one more question.
Cool, let's go.
And this goes out to before I continue, I just also want to reflect back that I'm super impressed about what you channeled and what came through you. I mean, you hit so many points. I mean, with what you presented, I'm surprised. Like, I would have thought that would have taken like 2 to 3 hours of questioning. It just came through you, and you hit the marks. And I just want to say bravo and thank you for your.
It's not like I contemplate these things at all, like I'm not thinking about these things at all. It's not the whole devotion of my incarnation to like really like, yeah, be able to transmit these, but having the opportunity to transmit this deep gnosis that has emerged through me through my own initiations and like a deep process of being in ceremony with myself and with reality. Like it feels like such a gift to be able to like, bring it through. And I'm glad it can be, I feel like it's being crystallized. So thank you for that reflection.
Absolutely. Thank
This is
you.
like high level energetics, but I feel like it's landing in such a way where, again, there are these patterns and there's these templates that are becoming very crystallized through many experiences that have shown,
Mhm.
deeper layers of these archetypal journeys. Yeah. So thank you. I'm a mental projector for anyone who's listening. So my like head centers are kind of designed to crystallize understandings of very vast and mysterious levels of reality into these codes that can be received and kind of hit. So
You are an oracle. That's what it is. You're just taking
basically,
the
yeah.
subtle and the divine, and you're just the bridge between that for information. It's
Yeah, I feel like more and more I'm receiving reflections really regularly of people actually just receiving a transmission from me and being like, you're an actual like oracle. And I'm like, I I know. I that feels like a big part of my archetype and my role of being a conduit for the divine intelligence and the human experience and being a bridge for the human and the holy, the whole spectrum of this. So it feels, yeah, it feels beautiful to be able to just like feel that the alchemy that I've been through of deep, deep purification over many, many years has continued to like refine my ability to see and to transmit very, very subtle levels. And yeah, it's been fun to like it's been hard at times to like have a lot of I go through a lot of mental purification of like paradigms and templates and constantly clearing out, right? The field to be able to channel from this place of wisdom and higher knowing. So, yeah,
so beautiful. Thank you.
thank you.
So the final question, and this goes out to my sisters in the rose path,
Hmm.
is, and this is completely maybe like switching gears a little bit. There's some similar themes, is what does, when somebody embodies internal union, like their masculine and their feminine, what does that look like? What does that feel like? I would even say more of from as a woman. What does that look? What does that feel like? What is that exactly?
Yeah, I will attempt to describe a very, yeah, like subtle and nuanced experience. So, for me, I'll just describe what it feels like for me. So, for me, it feels like feeling a deep sense of worth that is within my own body, a deep sense of love that is within me, and a deep well of creative and life force energy that feels changing and fluid and alive and full of vibrance and full spectrum, emotions. And it's a internal space of my waters. So
Mhm.
just feeling this internal richness and energy and vitality within my being and having the right relationship with life to be able to channel that energy into aligned creations, into what is meaningful to me, and into relationships that feel generative and evolutionary and expansive. So it's feeling this like internal sense of vitality, well-being, and aliveness. And then just having clarity on how I'm channeling my energy and what I'm choosing to create with my energy and the reality that I'm pouring that into based on my values, based on what's important to me, and based on a continuing process of clarity of where my energy is most needed and most valuable at any given time. So it's like, to put it simply, the dance between, yeah, feeling my own life force and then channeling it in aligned ways that feel authentic to my soul and that contribute to creating a life that feels true from within.
Mm. That's beautiful. May I get specific too, as
Yeah, please.
well? And I feel this because this was the next part of the question is, and I feel we kind of answered that throughout the entire episode, is so let's say like a woman is she's embodied and she has like the masculine idea, or she's like this. Is her process going to be like I set out to accomplish whatever desire in a more masculine way, and then like surrender to like the feminine process of how it happens. Like, how does she act?
Hmm.
How does she move? And how does she, like, where does it become masculine? Where does it become feminine within her? And then how does that even look?
So I do feel like there's this process where like at some point the inner polarities there it's not a concept, it's a natural dance of aliveness and action, and there's a yin and a yang, right? There's like this naturally flowing way. So for me it feels like at this point very integrated, where I'm not like I'm in my feminine now or I'm in my masculine now. It feels like there becomes this dance and this merging where it's all working together in service to like the timeline of soul authenticity and divine will. For me, I feel like I'm very a big part of my like coding is like this devotion to divine will and surrender of my own like ideas and attachments of how I think things are supposed to be, and just being in a deep place of more so like internal processing and alchemy, and like really listening. Like I sit in tea ceremony every morning, I have my practices, I have my ways of being, where I'm sitting really in this oceanic space of my own being, and from that place like truth emerges, and I know how to act and what's next and what my priorities are from that place of inner clarity. So I would say like through devotion to like inner clarity and the purification to really align my will with divine will, I really have found this sense of trust that if I'm taking care of myself and my own energy, and I'm in devotion to my own clarity through emotional and energetic, processing and inner listening, that I'm guided of what actions to take and what's next and where is my energy moving. And I just want to say, this is, I like am experimenting all the time with these energetics. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? I think this is the trajectory that's feeling aligned. So I'm going to go ahead and commit to this pathway, like to offer this offering or offer this ceremony, or, okay, this is what's feeling alive. And I'm going to just commit to that journey of showing up to that and playing my part and being in relationship to that. I might, realize, okay, that kind of came from a place of force, or that came from a place of like wanting some kind of external outcome. That's okay. Like I learned through that experience. So I think a big part of this too is that this is a journey of relationship and refinement and learning and growth. And there's no like perfect, like, this is what it looks like to be in your masculine or in your feminine or to have that dance. It's like there's a deep evolutionary process that comes from playing with these energetics and finding a way. Ultimately, I think the core is that it feels harmonious and it feels aligned with the cosmic rhythm, with the Tao. We're not pushing against the current, we're not forcing against the current. There's this kind of like allowing the the energy to build and then trusting that that's showing the direction. So it's not so much about like there being this specific template to follow. I think it's more about being in right relationship with life, with creation, and feeling how our masculine and our feminine energy, ultimately, when they're in partnership and they're in harmony, they're serving creation, they're serving truth, they're serving an evolutionary process of dharma and love that's moving through us. So I feel like my journey has been very much like feeling how my masculine and my feminine energy serve and support each other within, and then how they serve my process of creation in a very organic, natural way, which has required purification of force, of striving, of trying to like make things happen, of moving against the current. It's really being with the truth of the process in each moment and finding a deep trust again and safety that life is being birthed from the inside out. It's being birthed from
Mm.
my frequency. It's being birthed from my connection to my own aliveness. It's not like, oh, I have to like create this life to feel the way I want to feel.
Mm.
It's continually to sit. This is the piece. It's the life that it's knowing that like I'm creating life in myself, my frequency, the way I feel is my reality, right? So when I focus on that process and whatever that entails, it is then revealing how to move that into the physical realm, and the masculine saying, okay, based on this feeling and what we're creating internally, this is how we're going to anchor that externally through relationships, through business, through creation. So yeah, there's like a whole other conversation. We could go like so deep into like mechanics of all this, but I'll just leave that there and see if anything there landed for you, and if like you can take anything I said and like land the plane on that one.
Mm. That was perfect. Perhaps we'll even do a part two to this.
There, yeah, that's like a whole other thing of like actually creating life from this deep internal harmonic union blueprint. Because I'll just say one last thing. I believe the union template is about relationship and partnership and things. I also truly believe it's our technology to birth
Mm.
and to create realities. And so when we have that within ourself, we're in right relationship with creation internally and externally, remembering that our internal world is, our a creation, and then we're birthing worlds like through that place. And that's a power of the feminine as well, is to gestate and birth, realities through her own inner landscape.
Wow, yeah, I'd love to explore that. And everyone let us know in the comments if you want to hear this. I feel that would be also important.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for asking. Thank you for all the beautiful questions and the space to explore and to share.
Absolutely. Thank you for everything you are. Thank you for being the oracle and the divine channel and just everything that you have gone through and are and continue to be. You are a blessing
Mm.
to us all. For yourself, and I wish much abundance, love, alignment, prosperity for you.
Thank you so much, and you as well. Thank you for your devotion to the union of the feminine and the masculine on this planet, the union of truth and love, the creation of a world of harmony and beauty, and your devotion to doing your own work and being on your hero's journey to be the best man that you can be and to embody your potential in this lifetime, and for creating a platform for the feminine to share about her journey and to bring medicine and wisdom into the world. Yeah, thank you for being who you are.
Fully receive that.
Thank you, thank you.
I'll also link, are you okay if I link your information below for anyone to check you out? And
Absolutely. Please do that. I would love to share with your community.
absolutely cool. Yeah, so if you're curious more about Christina Marie, check her out. She's amazing. And again, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks
Wish you
everyone for
always
tuning
light
in.
out.